Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I'm outside again. My wife and newborn are in the house, so the outdoors is going to be my studio for the foreseeable future. But in this video, we're going to take a look at 10 unique talking head and interview style setups. We're going to look at lighting diagrams, we're going to look at just some unique ways of shooting, and then different lessons that I learned. I shot these over the course of the last 3 years. Some of them were from my old in-house filmmaking job. And I learned a lot shooting these projects, so I hope by doing these breakdowns, I can help you guys learn something valuable as well. So let's get into it. This one's a play on the 3-point lighting setup. We have a softbox over to the right side with a grid to focus the throw of the light, a large 4x4 bounce on the left side, and then you see a little bit of a warmer hair light up top, and that's an MC that I use the magnets on to attach it to a C-stand and boom it overhead. This one is a very high contrast, moody look, and the main way we were able to get that is from moving in some negative fill really close to her face to make the shadow side really dark. You see that here we have negative fill, there's a backlight matched to the practical lamp that's hitting her hair, and then the key light on the left side. On her face, you see it transitions from really hard on the left side and then has a soft fall off, and that's from her face catching the window light, and then we wrap it with the soft box. The window light also served as an edge light. You can see it in the other shot where it wraps her on the back of her head and hits her shoulders. We used a tripod for the main shot, and then we did the B cam shot handheld. Another thing to point out is the mirror back there. I positioned it to catch the lamp, and it helps add a lot of depth. This project is from the first time I shot on the cyc wall, so that was a big learning experience for me. But the main thing I want to point out here is that all these shots are from the same camera. We filmed in 6K on the Komodo, and as he was reading the script, we just kept it wide, but then in post we repositioned. With this shot off to the side, we left that space so we could go back in and edit some graphics on the side. And yeah, sometimes you can get away with just one camera and reframing. It worked really well for this one. There's a Komodo with a teleprompter. There's a 300D off to the side to add a little bit of shape to his face, but honestly didn't do that much because the light was so bright from overhead. The lighting in this project is really simple. We just use the massive windows that are off to the side of him and use the 300D to bring up a little bit more level and help wrap it. The main thing I want to point out is that all of these angles are from the same camera. This was very scripted, so we were able to go back and film some of the different angles with the same camera. We didn't have the budget to afford another camera, so we just figured out a way to use one. And this shot is the widest of all of them, but it didn't make the final edit, but I still wanted to throw it in there. For this series of interviews, we utilized overhead lighting. So I put a light in a softbox on a C-stand and boomed it overhead. I wouldn't recommend using a C-stand, but it was all we had. Get something a little bit stronger than that. The thing you see propped up against the tripod on the ground is a large bounce to help fill in some of the shadow. That's the main issue with overhead lighting, is you can get shadow under the eyes and under the neck. So we laid that on the ground to help minimize some of that. And it also depends on the person. Like this guy here, he has less shadows under his eyes because his brow line isn't as strong as the previous guy. And to get the black background, we just painted the walls behind them black. And then in the grade, I brought it down so you couldn't see any noise. Unfortunately, I could only find a still image of this one. I think it's still on the hard drive at my old in-house job. The two lamps you see behind them are hooked up to dimmers that I bought from Home Depot, and that's just to pull the bulbs down so that way they don't clip. The main reason why I wanted to share this one is because of the way that I lit it. It's a little bit more unique compared to the other ones. I used a pavo tube and shot it through a shower curtain, and that's it. The black piece of fabric you see there is to act as a flag, so that way the tube doesn't spill out onto the wall behind them, bringing up the level. It helps maintain contrast. This is one of the earliest interviews I shot out of all of these, and it's funny because it's one of the most complex setups. I think as you get better, you try to simplify. I brought this one up because I made a mistake. It feels very lit, and that's because the room tone is warm, and if you look at the windows behind him, you can tell it's nighttime, but the light that's keying him is daylight. So it's not motivated, therefore it feels lit. With that being said, I still like the quality of the light. I used a book light, so I bounced a hard light into a sheet of muslin and then had a shower curtain hanging in front of that. There's a small reflector off to his side to add some fill, and then I had 2 pavo tubes to help with the room tone. With this interview, the bookshelf behind the subject creates a rule of thirds grid on the image. And I thought that was pretty cool. And just be aware of your set and surroundings and how you can utilize what's there to create leading lines and create interest in your shot. This series of interviews was shot using only natural light. You don't always need big lights to create a pleasing image. This is just using the sun as backlight, but it's actually a little bit more off to the side, so it creates some wrap around the face. And then for the interviews, I actually just did this all handheld and had the people look at me in the face and held the camera a little bit off to the side. This one is kind of a gotcha, but at the same time, not really. It's an audio-only interview. I shot this story for a private school, and we did an audio-only interview because sometimes talking head stuff can feel a little too staged. So basically, we did the audio interview and then planned out all the B-roll based on what we got in the interview. And it just helps make it feel a little bit more real. And that's my new favorite way of doing interviews. That's it for this video. I hope you guys got something valuable out of that, and I'll see you in the next one.